What's good? What's good? What's good?
What's going
Back
on?
with another episode of Over the Counter Podcast. We are the good brothers of OTC, man. Um, we gonna get into it though. We gonna get into some stuff. We got some stuff on the docket that we definitely want to touch on. Nothing too crazy. Nothing too crazy. We gonna try and keep it light this episode. But yeah, yeah. How you doing, my brother?
Can't complain, man. Can't complain.
On
Another
me.
another day, another dollar, man. I can't say um the markets. Excuse me, my voice a little messed up. I'm sick y'all tonight, but the markets was doing good today, man. My account seen a big increase today, man. I made a lot of money. Made a
On
lot of
me. I mean, we always love seeing those increases. I can't say the same. I cannot say the same. So I'm happy somebody is enjoying a slight increase, no matter how large or small it is. So, but yeah, crypto ain't looking the best right now. We kind of chopping right now. No major moves to the downside or the upside right now. So,
I'm leveling
um,
up. I'm accumulating in some crypto right now.
right. Like I'm really not complaining right now. It's just part of the game. Definitely an opportune time to scoop up certain assets if you're looking in the right places. So, you know, do with that what you will. But moving on, man, our boy Elon, he is always in the headlines.
Mhm.
It's never a dull moment when it comes to Elon Musk. But we starting to see his antics really impact the companies that he is involved with or, directly in charge of. So we can only help but ask, should Elon Musk step down? What we thinking about that? What we thinking about this whole fiasco?
I mean, I think personally, I mean, I think he can do both at the same time. I think he's capable of doing both at the same time. I'll say that. He's ran multiple businesses the entire time. So I don't think it's a matter of him being able to run both. I think it's a matter of him running those negatively affecting his brand, leave his name. Just Elon Musk used to be a lot of his brands, largely a lot of people thought did well. Just it was the Elon effect. Whatever Elon touched turned to gold. He
Right.
has this big phone, and now it's kind of whatever Elon touches is associated with politics. In politics, it's no gray area nowadays. It's either on this side or you're on this side. So he's getting a lot of hate. So we'll have to see how he navigates it. But I mean, I don't know. I think it would be best for the company, but I don't know if he'll do that.
I find something interesting about corporate America and politics. Everybody good as long as you rooting for their side. You know what I'm saying? The minute you are no longer rooting for that side and you rooting for a different side for one reason or another, it's pitchforks. And I'm definitely noticing that with Elon Musk. Like Elon used to be a Democrat, bro.
Yeah.
Like through and through, used to be a Democrat.
Mhm.
And the minute he started expressing displeasure with that party, now all of a sudden Elon Musk is all these bad things, especially once he started aligning himself with the opposition, which is Donald Trump. And I just find that very funny and very disingenuous when it comes to politics and corporate America. Like, like you said, it's you on this side or you on that side. You know what I'm saying? It is what it is. But I especially don't think any healthy political system should function that way.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, it used to be a time where politics weren't talked about. In regards to the public. I always grew up. It was certain things you talk about: money, religion, and politics.
Right.
But nowadays, it's such a polarizing topic, and people don't know how to see things from other people's perspective. And then I think the media plays a lot into that because, all we hear is negative, this, that, and it causes the other side to villainize the other. And it just gets out of hand. But I mean, I feel like with the whole Elon thing, man, he's a lot of it is self-inflicted. I mean, he didn't have to take this position at those. And also a lot of the antics on X and a lot of things he says and things he retweets and all of that kind of stuff. So I don't know. I don't know what Elon is gonna do. I don't think that he had a meeting. He had a meeting with Tesla, and I seen it somewhere that Tesla employees over the last couple of months have sold over 700,000 shares of Tesla.
Damn.
And he was kind of urging, I heard on MSNBC, he was kind of urging, employees to hold on to the stock and all that kind of stuff. So, and then we seen the health fiasco in front of the White House with them, pitching Tesla. And so I think it's definitely something he's paying attention to. It's definitely got his attention.
I mean, yeah, that's directly impacting your bottom line.
Yeah.
Like, who wouldn't be paying attention to that? But I, I don't know, man. Like, who else? Because we've seen him do now, mind you, Twitter, a private company, is different than the federal government. I get that, but he took a similar approach, minus the government's endorsement, when he bought Twitter, now known as X. So Elon Musk has this knack for efficiency, if you will. So I'm not surprised that he took a similar approach with the federal government. Um, was it the right way of doing things when it came to Twitter? No, there was a lot of backlash around that. In fact, he had to rehire a lot of people because he fired hella people that they needed.
Yeah.
And that sounds like that's what's going on in the federal government. But I just find it funny that, especially when it comes to Doge, we're more mad that Elon Musk is the one doing it and it's tied to Donald Trump than we are at the fact that there is indeed fraud that needs to be addressed. Are these things actually fraud? Right? Like let's address the root problem instead of focusing on who the message is coming from. I feel like.
Yeah. I mean, that's important to note. But I think the thing with Elon is, yeah, a lot of people, some people don't like, that Elon is involved due to him, having ties with China and, being a businessman and all that type of stuff. But on the flip side of that, it's like, a lot of people don't care about things until it starts to impact them.
Right.
A lot of people don't care about government fraud and, misspending and having a government that is $36 trillion in debt because it's not affecting their day to day. But when people start getting laid off and you hear about all these government federal employees getting sent home, and of course that's probably affecting businesses locally
Right.
and all type of things locally. I think it's just one of those things. People don't care about it until it starts to affect them and people they know.
Yeah, you definitely have a point there. But I mean, to answer the question, do I think Elon should step down? I mean, I
If
don't
you're
know.
if you're a shareholder, what's your perspective? You're a shareholder in Tesla. You're on the board.
I
Should
mean,
he?
you're definitely impacting my bottom line. So I have issue with that. If I'm being real, I have issue with that.
And
But
is that going to change though?
no, it is not going to change. For the foreseeable future, this is not going to change. People have a real problem with Elon Musk. But do I think the minute Elon Musk steps down that the stock is going to rally? Absolutely not. So now we're without a CEO
Yeah.
and we're without a visionary, and we still stuck with a low share price.
Mhm.
It's almost as if him stepping down compounds my problems.
I can see that. I can see that.
Because who else? Who gonna take Tesla forward like Elon Musk?
It's tough, man. He can't.
Like he could appoint old girl to be the CEO of X. Because I mean, yeah, X is doing stuff and they making splashes and they making waves, but it's not Tesla and it's not SpaceX as far as output and benefit to humanity. I'm sorry, it's just not. So I don't know if he could do that with SpaceX and Tesla.
Yeah, I mean, do you think people would have said the same about Apple once upon a time with their CEO?
Bro, I think Apple historians would agree that Steve Jobs being fired that time was probably the worst mistake they could have made.
As far as innovation standpoint?
Yes, they didn't innovate. They were stuck. And I mean, let's be real. What is Apple doing? What has Apple done since? Hey, Tim Cook, bro. The bag is not the same. The
Nah,
bag is not the same. So I get it. I can't really criticize you like that. But at the same time, in my opinion, Tim Cook has done nothing but like made sure the ship didn't sink.
do you think Tesla has gotten to the point now to where they're a household name as far as EVs in the US that they don't necessarily have to innovate incredibly, that they don't really have to innovate anymore, that they can somebody else can take that spot and push the company forward?
Unfortunately, once you put yourself in the tech company category,
Yeah.
you have to innovate. That's tied to the nature of business. If you don't innovate, you get left behind.
I don't know about that though, because Apple has proven that to be cat.
That's clearly not, bro. They're trying to make a bigger dent in the Asian markets and can't do it because Asian phone manufacturers are shitting on Apple
Well,
in every way.
that's a whole nother beast because they're doing the same thing in the EV space.
But at the same time, Tesla's not trying to take over that market right now.
They can't.
Tesla's cool with this market.
They can't compete in China. BYD is killing them.
And
They're
I
making
think
better cars and for cheaper.
right. And not only that, but I think there's like other regulations involved that prevent something like that from even happening. Cars and cell phones are a bit different industries when it comes to regulatory regimes. So like I just I don't see a timeline where Tesla cannot innovate. And if I'm being real with you, Apple is starting to lose in the US too.
Yeah. What too?
So, bro, I've known more people in the last year or two that were diehard Apple people, all of a sudden rocking Samsungs. I'm
I'm
confused.
tell you right now, the iPhone could stay the exact same.
I wouldn't be tripping.
I'm never switching
I
sides.
wouldn't be tripping. I'm not looking for I no longer look for my phone to be this super like innovative fam, can I text? Can I call? Can I get on my little social media apps? Can I pull up YouTube?
So we don't use half the features that they.
Bro, no, I don't need it. I don't and I use it for my crypto stuff. Can I put my wallets on there? If I can put my wallets on there, I'm good.
Yeah, I do want to
So,
something like that into the wallet.
right, but I mean at the same time though, we are a very small minority of the audience. So most people, especially when you're talking about CNET and all them types of people, they looking for innovation.
Yeah, I guess we'll see. You
No,
know,
we gonna have to see. We definitely gonna have to see. But moving on, man. Moving on. So sometimes this is actually a really good exercise to do because especially when you've been investing for a minute, you can often forget. And depending on how long you've been investing, the purchasing power of a dollar can indeed change.
yeah,
Just gonna say that. Like For instance, I could have been buying shares at a certain price long ago and my dollar went further. You could be buying shares of the same exact asset at a totally different time and your dollars are not going as far. So obviously your purchasing power against that particular stock or particular asset has decreased. So it's all about entries, stuff like that. But if you had $1,000
Mhm.
and you were starting a portfolio, what would be your first allocation?
So I'm gonna give you two different scenarios. I'm going to give you a scenario where I pick two individual stocks, and then I'm going to give you a scenario where I pick two ETFs.
Okay.
So the first one, if I had $1,000 right now, of course, this would just be starting those positions, and of course,
Right.
I would build upon those via dollar cost average, and then anytime I come across any lump sums of money, I would make allocations that way. But the two companies I would choose for me personally, looking towards the future and where the future is going, would be Palantir and CrowdStrike.
Mm,
For those of you that don't know, Palantir is pretty much a data analytics AI company. CrowdStrike, cybersecurity. Um, for as far as Palantir, they do data analytics for government enterprises. CrowdStrike is cybersecurity. They do cloud native solutions, and some of their Palantir's key clients, U.S. government, DoD, CIA, and a lot of other Fortune 500 companies. CrowdStrike, they help with enterprises, financial institutions, governments, and healthcare. Primary revenue source for Palantir is government contracts and enterprise AI analytics. And then CrowdStrike, they have subscription based cybersecurity services. So when I'm thinking about two companies that I want to start a position in, when you're talking about a company like Palantir, if you look at some of their earnings, you look at some of their ecosystem, this is a company that whenever you have a company and some of their main clients is government agencies, and a lot of their biggest contracts are government contracts. And then they also have a growing number of enterprise contracts, and they're getting into healthcare and all these different type of things like that. Whenever you're talking about data, I think you said before on a couple of episodes back, data is the biggest commodity right now.
mhm,
Data. So when you're talking about AI, when you're talking about data, when you're talking about who they serve, what they do, Palantir is in a world of its own. They're the only one doing what they're doing right now at that level. So Palantir is definitely be the first one. So I'm put 500 there, and then CrowdStrike. When you're talking about AI, when you're talking about um, cloud, when you're talking about all of this technology that we're getting into, the need for cybersecurity is going to increase. Now, when it comes to quantum, I don't know. Quantum, I guess we'll deal with that when we get there. But as far as CrowdStrike, they have a very sticky ecosystem as well. They have a lot of partners, and most of the time, if you look at the numbers, whenever someone gets involved with CrowdStrike, they don't leave. CrowdStrike is a very good, reputable company. They have different some of their things they have. It's called Falcon, the Falcon platform, Falcon XDR, Falcon identity protection, and this all has to do with cyber threat intelligence, cloud-based cybersecurity, sweep protecting endpoints, workloads, identities, data, all of that kind of stuff. So it's basically just a cybersecurity. So that's what I would do for my two companies. And then of course, there's a lot of great companies, but these are the two I would start with. I feel like these are going to be not only they're going to be stamped in the future, I feel like these two companies will be recession proof because it doesn't matter what's going on in the economy, we're going to need cybersecurity regardless.
mhm.
And then when you're talking about Palantir, doesn't matter what's going on in the economy, recession, no recession, data is still going to be a big thing. So I think these are two companies that not only are great companies, not only are stamped and are growing, they're recession proof. And that's what I want for my portfolio. Something that's going to be, not just going to be thrashed, with the waves of the economy. And then if I'm going ETF route, of course, I'm going to go VOO and QQQM. Now, VOO, you've heard me talk about before. It tracks the S&P 500 index. There are 500 companies in the holdings. The expense ratio is low, like we want to see, 0.03%. Dividend yield of 1.4%. And some of their top sectors in that ETF is tech, healthcare, financials, and industrials. And when you're going with ETF, it's not as volatile, and you have more exposure. Again, I want to remind people, when you're buying an ETF, you don't have ownership of the holdings, you have exposure to those assets. And then QQQM, which is the Invesco Nasdaq 100 ETF, that's going to give me exposure to a lot of the tech side. NASDAQ 100, 100 companies, expense ratio a little higher than the VOO, but not as bad, 0.15%, dividend yield of 0.6%. And then the top sectors in that, it's pretty much tech, consumer discretionary, communication services. And then the risk level on that one, it's a little more volatile than VOO, mainly because it's heavy tech. And whenever you're dealing with heavy tech, of course, it's going to get hit a little harder. So, and then just running over the performance over the last year time frame, the VLO has done 25% annual returns, and QQQM 40%. So
That's actually pretty damn good.
yeah, so I always say with ETFs, you take a lot of the, not guesswork, but you take a lot of the deep diving into these companies' fundamentals, into their different analytics and things like that. Just go to ETF route. The VLO, that's going to cover you. S&P 500, it's going to cover you for the top 500 companies in the United States by market cap. And then you go QQQM, that's going to cover you for the tech side, your consumer discretionary, your consumer services. So you can't go wrong with those two. You can't go wrong with those two. And those are two that, I would tell anybody to get invested in at any time. Honestly, dollar cost averaging those, you can't lose. You're going to get exposure to all of our best companies in the S&P 500, all of the top companies in the Nasdaq 100, and invest in those for the long term, and you'll be all right.
Yeah, no, that's a lot of good information actually. Um, Especially when you only working with 1,000, at least for now.
Yeah.
You want to make a solid first move. So
hmm
you got two options there. He just gave you two options. Me personally, I think I probably would have went the ETF route.
Hey, I can't be mad at that. Different, investor identities. You may have a different. The first one is a little more riskier.
Right,
A little more riskier, but
right. But I mean, I don't have a whole breakdown on my logic as to why I would do this. But if I was looking at it from a crypto perspective, I only had $1,000 to work with. I would do Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP, and then future blue chip altcoin of your choice. Build your own ETF essentially for crypto purposes. You on mute, bro.
oh, I got you.
There you go. But yeah, I would just build my own ETF that way. If I was looking at it from a crypto perspective, that gives me pretty good starting exposure across the main ones, especially if you're not trying to guess onto where to dive in. Just take the guesswork out and take some of the best ones at the top of the overall market. But yeah, simple and plain. Now, the biggest question that I get, especially when people reach out to me thinking about they want to start investing stuff like that, they ask about their debt. And we can go back and forth about this. Some people think you should pay off all your debt first and then invest, and some feel like you can manage. There's a difference between bad debt and good debt, and if you can manage your good debt, then you should be able to invest as well. But what camp do you fall in on that? What's your thoughts on paying off debt before investing or not?
Me personally, I feel like you have to, for one, um, that's gonna vary case by case. But I fall on the side of I personally did not wait until I had all of my debt paid off.
Right.
I feel like if you wait until you have all of your debt paid off, you'll get into a situation where you never actually end up investing. Um, Unfortunately, the economy we live in, and especially if you have a family, kids, a home, things come up. You're not always going to be able to be 100% debt free. And I feel like you just need to have a budget. You need to treat investing like a bill, allocate money towards that like it is a bill, like it is a debt that you have to pay off. And I feel like you should treat it that way. I know people like I know different people have different opinions on it. Different people can approach it different ways, but one thing when you're talking about investing, that's an important role that plays an important role in the success of any portfolio when you're talking about investing for the long term is time. You need
Yeah.
time
Time in the market.
and you need time to accumulate, and you need compounding interest. And the longer you wait, the longer the longer you keep yourself from those benefits. So I say you shouldn't wait. I say you should just approach it strategically, find a way to tackle the debt and invest. Even if your allocation towards investing is not as much as you would like it to be because you're paying off debt, find a way to do both
Right. I mean, I know I was doing both when I started off.
for sure.
When I first started almost 7 years ago, I was definitely investing and paying off debt at the same time. And I was not investing anywhere near the numbers I'm investing now. I was probably when I first, especially when I first got out of college, I think I was investing, I want to say maybe like only 100, 200 a month.
I was nickel and diamond, boy.
That's what I'm saying. Like I mean, people don't start out investing these ridiculous amounts of money. I mean, for one, you have to build confidence, and you're not going to be a confident investor, nor are you going to be staying around for a long time if you invest in your whole wop. You know what I'm saying? Like investing your last every single time. Like that's not really how it works. You got to definitely pace yourself and build up confidence, because a lot comes with investing. It's more psychological than anything. Um, and when you first starting out, you kind of want to definitely take it slow, but take consistent, steady steps. Um, and that's okay. Like you said, most people, you're not all like things come up. You're not always going to be debt free, but as long as you can manage whatever debt that you are in, and you're consistently paying on that and paying it off, because that's the ultimate goal. Um, I think you should figure out how to do that on top of investing, even if it's like not even half of what you would want to be investing just because you're paying off debt. Because that's two very important things going on right there. Um, and that's one thing that people need to learn to do more, and not just when it comes to investing, but in their everyday lives, is running things in parallel. You got to learn how to juggle, right? Because like, especially think about this. Say you come up with a plan to invest and pay off debt. Well,
Mhm.
as you pay off debt, that's funds that you can visually see be adding over to the investing side that once wasn't on the investing side, right? So as you're seeing your debt decrease, you're seeing your investment capital increase,
Mhm.
right? So that's, to me, that's even more of a motivator to continue to pay off your debt in a steady, healthy, strategic manner, so that you can continue to see your investment capital grow in a, steady and healthy manner as well. So it's all about how you look at it, but I definitely would agree with that. Like I don't think you should wait to pay off all your debt um to invest. I think you should definitely juggle both and be responsible.
Yeah, because I mean, if you look at it this way, depending on what type of investing you're doing, um, say you not financial advice, but I know a certain someone who had debt and they entered an option instead of paying off debt. And that options contract made them enough money to pay off their debt and some. So, there's different scenarios, man. It's different scenarios, different risk tolerances. Like you said, you got to be able to multitask. And, you have to look at it as this: investing shouldn't be a option or I'll do it when I get around to it. People need to start looking at investing as it's just like a bill. You
Hmm.
can't afford not to. You can't afford not to.
And the more you don't, the more expensive that bill gets, unfortunately.
Trying to play catch up.
Boy. Um, because I definitely in my personal life, I see how investing could, especially at the age some of these people are, if they were investing even at my age now, they'd be way off, way better off from a financial standpoint. Minusing all the other circumstances that they may or may not have gone through. But um just the financial savviness in our communities needs to increase. That's all. That's
Yeah.
all. Um, I hear a lot of stories about, man, we used to have this and this, that, and the third, and such and such and such and such messed it up and da da da. Man, like I'm really tired of hearing we used to. You feel me? Like I'm really tired of hearing we used to when it should be um us growing on things at this point, like adding on to it instead of trying to build it up from scratch. So, we just got to think about stuff like that from that perspective.
And then finally, what do you say to people who may think, okay, I'm in my late 30s, early 40s, people that may think it's too late. They already blew it. What do you say?
Honestly, honestly, I don't think it's ever too late to invest. Now, the investing strategy might look different at that age, but it's still all the same. The goal is the same, you know. Um at that age you probably are a lot more conservative with your money, but I mean, hey, there's still ways. You're in capital protection mode at that point, so there's ways of doing that, right? And having something, if that's your goal, to set aside for the next generation to come after. There's never a time where it's too late to invest. It just may look a little different.
Yeah. And what people need to realize is the earlier you start, the smaller your amounts as far as what you have to put in. The smaller you have to put in. If
Hmm.
you wait till later in life, I'm talking about, you got to really be locked in. You got to be loading that thing up thousands
Right.
of a month in order to get that thing to where you want to get it to, in a short span of time, 10, 15 years. It takes a lot more capital. And even then, you lose that time that you need in order for your account to grow. So start now, man. We talked about this last week. Start now. Start
Yeah.
now. Don't wait. If you waited, start and put as much in as you possibly can.
Right. And like I said, everybody's strategy is different. I mean, it can vary between age groups. It can vary between risk tolerance. It can vary between interests, all types of stuff. So, I mean, there's no one size fits all. It just, on a, these conversations need to be had for
Yeah.
sure. And it's almost like this type of stuff needs to become a habit. But the more we talk about it, the more we normalize it, the more we'll get there. So, yeah, it's never too late to invest. Never too late. Never too late. And that definitely is a good segue into the next small little topic that we have. I mean, because even when you do get started, there's a lot of discouraging moments, especially like when you're not really seeing growth like you quote unquote expected. Say you started investing in a bear market, right? Like you haven't experienced the bull market, so you don't know how crazy the ride can be. You haven't experienced, life-changing gains like that, but yet you steady stacking, you know? So throughout that time, there's moments that can be discouraging. It's a lot of noise involved along that path, especially in a bear market. So, staying focused during that noise aspect of building up your portfolio, what do you typically do? What would you suggest somebody do to kind of block out the noise?
Um, for one, I think you have to have a don't think short term. This is not an instant gratification thing. This is not a overnight, thing. If you're thinking long term, then you already set yourself up to not be expecting anything spectacular in the short term anyway. In the short term, you should be hoping for these bear markets or these pullbacks, or these cheaper prices so that you have as much time as possible to accumulate and to build a position. So that way, when things turn the other way, when things start to run up, when things start to appreciate, that way you have enough of a position to be able to have a significant, gain on your portfolio. But I think it's just a mindset thing, man. Having a long term mindset. Whenever I'm looking at my portfolio, because at this point, we've been, the market's pretty much been, I won't just say down, but it hasn't really done anything all year, and I'm taking advantage of it, and then when we get pullbacks, I'm increasing my positions and adding more money and adding more money. And it could be a thing where, you go a year and a half, 2 years, where you're in that season of just loading up, increasing your positions, but when we do finally have that bull market, when those assets that you spent, those years, 2 years of researching and following the companies and staying disciplined and increasing those positions, when you do finally get that appreciation and your account does grow and you're making more money in your portfolio gains than you did at work that week, like I just did today, you know, and we're not even in a bear market and not even in a bull market, you'll appreciate it. You'll appreciate it. And then we're having a different conversation. Now we're talking about, you know, how to start taking some profits and what to roll it into and taxes and all of that good stuff. So, just have a long-term mindset. Don't look at it as, okay, I'm invested in this and I wanted to go crazy next week. Because most people, you shouldn't want that to happen anyway, because I'm pretty sure you don't even have enough shares to even get any significant, you know, profit from that.
Right.
So, you should want at least minimum. I know it sounds like a lot, but once you start to invest, for the months get to going on and you're staying disciplined and you're DCAing and you're buying more and more and more, you should at least want at least a minimum 50 to 100 shares when we're talking about a stock. That's minimum, and then, you start getting up into the 250s, the 500s. And, when you're thinking about it, you may let's say a stock like NVIDIA or AMD, for instance, is like 115 or 120, 130. You might be like, man, how am I ever get 250, 500 shares of that? You know, you invest in some of these stocks, go into a bull market, you get 30, $40,000 of profit, and now you're rolling into these assets, and now you got 250 of this, got 250 of that. The long game. It's a marathon, not a sprint.
Right. I mean, I think it also helps to be confident in what you're investing in too. So, I mean, you got to do your research before you put money into anything, and don't just go off of what people tell you. Like you want to like know this stuff for yourself. So when you press buy, you know what you're buying and you know why you're buying it. And then that helps lead into the long-term view on your overall investing portfolio and things of that nature. So I mean, definitely having confidence in what you're um, investing in, where you're putting your money,
Mhm.
how you're going about it. I mean, I would hope you came up with some type of plan before you started investing and buying whatever asset you're buying. So yeah, confidence is key. I mean, it definitely leads into um, a long term investing style. And I mean, you also got to be adaptive along the way.
Yeah.
Like certain strategies can change along the way. Like you may have thought, oh, I'm gonna approach it this way and do this and this, but circumstances changed. So now you had to kind of like remix your plan a little bit, and your plan looks different than when you started, but you have to be okay with that. Because sometimes if you don't change or you don't switch your plan up, I mean, you can screw
Yeah.
yourself up in the long run. So being adaptive, and being confident in what you're investing in and knowing why you're investing would be my two things.
That's a good point. That's a good point because don't fall in love with any stock, any crypto. You know,
Hmm.
things start to take a turn for the worse. When fundamentals start to break down, even something like what we're talking about with Elon Musk, if this continues and we're in 2026 talking about the same thing, maybe time to pivot out of Tesla, maybe time, so you have to don't be blind to the signs, you know, pay attention, be ready to pivot, don't be in denial about things. If you're gonna take some losses in this game, so if you lose a little bit of money, I would much rather lose 20% of her position and pivot out than lose 80, 90,
Right.
100% because I waited too long when the signs were there. So that's a good point. That's a good point you made.
Yeah. But I mean, the adaptive part, I mean, you got to be almost like self aware for that. Like, it's real easy to get into an echo chamber. You definitely want to diversify your resources, make sure like you're not reading the same things over and over again. Your research isn't, regurgitating certain points. They're pointing out certain things, pros and cons, things of that nature. Just make sure you're able to look at the full landscape. But um, believe it or not, man, that's all we had on the docket, bro. Like real light day, like we said. Nothing crazy. Um, any closing remarks you want to give before we call it a night?
I'll say this. I talked about VOO, QQQM. If you're starting a portfolio today, whether it be 1,000, 2,000, 5,000, 10,000, I put my name on the line. Long term, 5 to 10 years, you cannot go wrong with either one of those. That's them.
I mean, I could believe that. I would be confident in that.
Look at the track record. I mean, you got 5, 10 years of track record. You know what I'm saying?
That's
So
that's proven history. That's proven history. Do your research, not financial advice.
yeah,
But with that being said, man, appreciate y'all for tuning in. Appreciate y'all for watching another episode of Over the Counter Podcast. And we'll catch you in the next one. Peace.
wow.